Hello everybody, James here. Now this is going to be a relatively quick video, something I say often and mean in earnest but rarely comes true, but we'll see how far we get. Regarding Vince McMahon's recent 80th birthday party, it was weird. Really weird, apparently. Or bits of it were anyway. So this has been sort of covered a bit, but something else came about sort of late yesterday evening that was posted by Book Pro Wrestlers social media. I'll be referencing Steve, who runs that a few times through this because he's provided a couple of photos. But the first we all knew about Vince McMahon having a swinging shindig for his 80th birthday was a fan video that filmed several current and former WWE stars and personnel leaving Gotham Hall in New York City, including Vince McMahon himself. Some reports basically said that he was looking and moving like an 80-year-old, which I guess is fair enough. That'd be a fine thing to say or normal thing to say about anyone apart from maybe Vince, who's basically an android. But, you know, time is undefeated, I guess. Now, the party was said to be a two-night affair with live music, including an opera singer, a Brooklyn choir, and Jelly Roll himself performing. Earlier reports of AC/DC and Kid Rock also performing have pretty much been debunked. But there's one thing that hasn't been debunked, and that is Vince McMahon was dressed like Dr. Evil from Austin Powers. So at least I guess we can figure that Vince McMahon has seen at least one film in his life and gets at least one pop culture reference. But at least that's what I presumed anyway, because he actually wasn't dressed up like Dr. Evil for a laugh. He thought that was just a cool suit to wear, apparently, according to The Godfather. So, The Godfather, one of McMahon's guests and somebody Vince considers a true friend, said the following. This is a write-up from, I can't remember what website, but anyway, Godfather noted McMahon was looking a lot better and was walking a lot better than in previous recent photos that had circulated online in recent video. However, he joked that McMahon's outfit for the evening, he looked like he was Dr. Evil. He had a Dr. Evil suit on, bro. I thought Dr. Evil, and apparently The Undertaker also said the exact same thing. Keep in mind that Godfather and The Undertaker also apparently went for their first facials together as well during that shindig, and I'm not being euphemistic there, you know, like a facial treatment kind of thing. Godfather also said this, which I just thought this was kind of bizarre, is that the Godfather, Vince McMahon introduced the Godfather to his companion for the evening. Quote, he introduced me to his girlfriend, or whatever she was, he stated. A ringing endorsement there, quite frankly, and still it goes to show that it doesn't matter if you're 100 years old and you have alleged reputation for crapping on women's heads and that you're a sex trafficker. Some women will always look past that if you're rich. Anyway, let's go to the guest list. John Cena, Sheamus, R-Truth, The Miz, Maurice, Titus O'Neil, Jerry Lawler, Drew McIntyre, The Undertaker, Michelle McCool, Kane, Shane McMahon, Sergeant Slaughter, Bruce Pritchard, JBL. There were more, all confirmed. I'm not going to go through everybody. This is surprising so many names were confirmed, considering that all the guests were required to sign Vince McMahon's favourite legal form, a non-disclosure agreement. That's right. All the guests had to sign an NDA. And not only that, guests were also required to leave their phones in the hotel room or at reception. So no photos and no video, and a legal vow not to spill the tea on what actually happened behind those doors that weekend. Well, Jerry Lawler immediately broke said NDA by posting a photo of himself in a jacket that's about 2 sizes too large for him. I mean, you can see it's like creeping up over his thumb there. And with some of the aforementioned guests, Drew, Sheamus, Titus, Miz and Maurice. Now, all of a sudden, for people who don't realise that he was told to take that photo down immediately, considering it kind of breached the NDA that was... Well, I don't know if it breached the NDA, actually, but he was told to take it down, and he did. And then all of a sudden, he ends up with some sort of... He's medically incapacitated again, and we haven't heard from him since. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that Vince McMahon sent someone to deal with him, but that's all I'm saying. Right. Well, it seems that one of Vince McMahon's reasons for not wanting anything to get out, because... there were just some things that were just like, it was just a giant Vince McMahon ego trip, essentially. Which is your 80th birthday party to an extent, that's not that weird. But apparently, and this comes from, once again, Book Pro Wrestlers. Here we go. A giant bus. I'm gonna read what Book Pro Wrestlers at Book Pro Wrestler on Twitter, and he's also on Facebook as well, said. A surreal scene from Vince McMahon's recent birthday celebration. Floating above the room was a sculpted, floating likeness of Vince's own face, reportedly carved out of ice. This photo has never been seen publicly until now. Now, this was a few days ago. This was, nearly a month ago, actually, August 28th. Now, I'm not sure it's made out of ice. It almost looks like it's a stick-on decal that's on, like, a mirror or something like that. I kind of sort of figure that's what it might be. Doesn't look like it's made out of ice. But what it does look like is Andros from Star Fox. Only difference sort of between the two is a few more rounded edges on the face, and he's not spitting out geometric shapes and Slippy Frog begging for help behind him. I'm sure, people have been begging for help around Vince for ages, but not Slippy Frog anyway. So, supposedly whittled by ice. To my eye, I'm not so sure, but who knows? I mean, Vince did have a giant carving of his head somewhere in the party, and apparently that's one of the things they didn't want it going out. Where are we now? So, it gets weirder. According to Teddy Long, who probably also signed an NDA but just didn't give a shit, or he just forgot, I guess, confirms something else. Vince also started interfering with production, apparently, while the music acts were going on, and he put on a headset and started producing, and was just generally padding around the place, acting like he was backstage at a WWE Raw taping. Teddy Long talked about how happy Vince was at the time, and it felt like he was back at work, I suppose. But we're going to get to the weirdest thing at the end anyway. But there's one interesting fact here about who wasn't there at the party. Shane McMahon was. Triple H was there. Vince's son-in-law, of course, along with Triple H's children, which is Vince McMahon's grandchildren. But according to Teddy Long, once again, Stephanie McMahon was not there. So, for whatever reason, take that for whatever you want to take it for. But that's not the weirdest thing. The most bizarre part of the entire weekend was that the party favours Vince McMahon gave to 100 or so guests in attendance. Remember just, that bust, once again, the floating head of Vince McMahon. Well, apparently that wasn't enough for Vince, and the party favours he had made were 100 busts of his own head that he sent people with a little name thing there that says Vince McMahon, and I don't know what a book of Baccarat's there for. I guess it's a hotel or whatever it is, and not just, a manual of how to play the game, which is 50-50 chance. So, yeah, there you go. All wrestlers, about 100 in all, or wrestlers or guests, about 100 in all, got to leave and go back home with a bust of Vince McMahon's head, and a decent likeness, actually, as well. They didn't bother with the mustache, thankfully. They got the white bit in the front of his hair right, but not the rest of the hair dye as well. It's also interesting it's interesting that anybody would think this is kind of, say appropriate. Nothing's really appropriate when it comes to Vince McMahon. I think the rules are out the window when it comes to Vince McMahon, of course. But I think it's kind of weird that he's sort of done this like a Roman emperor, and then whoever's taken this photo has then taken a photo with it next to, I don't know if that's Caligula or another Roman emperor. But if it is Caligula, I'm saying that's kind of a comedy in itself, that Vince McMahon and Caligula both have busts next to each other, side by side, if you know anything about your Roman history. So why would anyone want ostensibly a death mask of their former boss hanging about in the house, in the front room, or even weirder, the bedroom, I guess? I don't know, but I suspect some of these will end up on eBay sooner or later on the coming months and years. So there you go. Inside the mind of a maniac. And once again, 100 people, including a lot of current and former WWE personnel, were there. So I don't know if that means anything as far as, well, Vince does start his own wrestling promotion or whatever it is he's doing. Would a lot of them jump ship? I'm still wondering if a lot of them would, including current WWE wrestlers. So there you go. That's the story. That's weird. Once again, thank you to Steve at Book Pro Wrestlers because I wrote to him and asked if it was okay if he used the photos, and he said yes, that's fine. So once again, thank you, subscribe, like, blah, blah, blah. See you for the next one.